everyone. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today, Cheryl Janis, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, so I have to read this because this is pretty impressive. Cheryl is a healthcare interior designer who helps visionary healthcare practitioners transform unwelcoming spaces into exquisite custom healing environments. Doesn't that sound good? Unlike other healthcare interior designers, Cheryl uses an experiential approach to design, considering your patient's experience from the moment they walk through your door, when you want that, until the time they leave, and every step in between. And you can check out her portfolio while we're on this hangout today at CherylJanisDesigns.com. That's CherylJanis Designs with an S at the end.com. Welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you, Rebecca. It's so great to be here with you.
I'm excited to do this hangout.
Me too.
So Cheryl, let's get started, and I want to have so many questions for you.
Fire away.
So I want to find out, first of all, and so for anyone watching or listening today, if you're trying to design your space, you want to redesign your space, or you're starting up a new practice, this is something to think about, what Cheryl's going to be sharing with us. So tell us, I always like to hear the story, Cheryl. So tell us your background, how you got into doing this, and specifically how you ended up in healthcare.
Well, I've always been a sensitive child. So as a sensitive child, I was always moving around my rooms and decorating and
I can't hear you.
Rebecca, there's some technical problem. I'm hearing what you just said. Repeat back to me. A few little technical snafus. Okay. Did you hit playback, Rebecca?
No.
So I'm hearing what was just recorded, played back to me in my ears. I'm hearing the fabulous introduction that you just gave me. Okay, it stopped. So can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. One moment.
That's annoying.
Okay. Okay, one moment. I'm going to see if I can fix it. One moment, Rebecca, okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'm back. I fixed the problem. So can you just re-ask me that last question?
Yes. I always like to hear the story about how you ended up here, how you got to this place. And
right.
I want to hear all about that.
Okay. So as a child, I was very, very sensitive. I always moved things around in my room, and I felt every little emotion when I did that. And as an adult, I found the ancient science and art of feng shui design, and I started studying that for a long time. And I studied color, and I studied some interior design. And then over the past 12 years, I've been kind of in my own laboratory, so to speak, first working on homes with people, residential clients, and then working with private practice healthcare practitioners, holistic practitioners like acupuncturists and massage therapists and naturopaths and physical therapists, and integrative medicine practitioners, and also, allopathic doctors who all believed in this whole health approach to medicine. And what I noticed happening in the first 5 years of doing my work is that there were all these phenomenal changes that were happening. So I would come in and help people redesign their spaces, and their lives would change. They would suddenly get the jobs they'd been waiting for, or their relationships would improve, or they'd meet the love of their life. And then as I was starting to work with healthcare practitioners, I saw some magic happen that just blew me away. And that was each time I would go into the space and redesign it and choose new colors and create a really healing experience. So, soothing colors and use all the sort of Zen style and techniques. I noticed that not only did patients feel better and staff feel better and enjoy their everyday life, but these healthcare practitioners and physicians' businesses started to boom. So every single time I noticed that there was this huge increase in word of mouth. And 6 months into it, I'd get a call back in and just joyful call from my clients saying, "Oh my God, what did you do here? My clients love it. My patients are so happy. My work is booming." And then I came across a problem, and that problem was, how do I sort of prove this scientifically? Because I just couldn't. It was happening magically, and I didn't know how to prove it. And so this field came along. It's been around for about 20 years, called evidence-based design.
Mhm.
And that gave me it was the missing link for me, because evidence-based design is a way of designing a space that uses evidence to support the healing environment, to support creating an environment that is centered around people and place and experience and healing and comfort. And it looks at all of these different things. And so evidence-based design in the past 20 or 30 years has brought together science. So now I have a different language to speak to my clients about what's happening in the environment, why it's so important, and why your environment is not just another pretty face. It actually makes a difference in your work. It actually facilitates healing on so many levels. Families coming together, they have a better experience. The nervous system is calmed down, and everybody is just loving life there. And it's so rewarding. I love doing it because it affects so many people.
Well, it really shows that you love your work.
Thank
You're
you.
passionate about it. And so I can just imagine what a space like this would be for the employees to work in, let alone the patients to enjoy.
Right. There's all this evidence that shows that bringing plants into an environment, indoor plants, it creates all this wonderful feeling on the body level, and workers get along better. So your colleagues get along better. There's more of a peaceful dynamic. People report having a higher quality of life at work. And so, yes, are you kidding? So staff is happier, and then they treat the patients differently. They feel more balanced in their lives. They love coming to work. They call in, there's less sick days. They love being there.
Well, less sick days. Now that's impressive because, in the smaller independent practices, when one person's out, it really puts a kink in everything that's going on, because somebody has to start filling in and they take away from their position. So it's not like they have all these resources to call upon just so someone can be out.
Right. And it's great. I mean, it's kind of, when you think about it, Rebecca, it's so common sense, to do these things in your environment. But because traditionally, when we think of going to the doctor or going to the hospital, it's this really kind of antiseptic experience where there are white walls and harsh lighting. And so I think when, physicians get out of medical school, they set up a practice with those kind of standards. It's kind of what they're modeled after, right?
Oh yeah, it's still medicinal. It sterile or
right.
Has a non-emotional, non-feeling component to it.
Right. And especially for sensitive people, especially when you're in pain. You know how everything just gets really exacerbated when you're in pain. And then there's bright lights and, smells, that are outfit, you smell alcohol and other kinds of things in the environment. And it's just so nice to come into a space that just is so welcoming.
Oh yeah. I can just imagine the improvement in the care. And I'm thinking too, there's a lot of basis around the patient satisfaction surveys. So when patients are sitting in a waiting room, or they're waiting for the physician, and they're on Yelp and they're typing their experience, how much better for them to type something rewarding and beneficial that's going to only help showcase the practice in a good light.
When you really take into consideration some of the tips that I'm going to give, and just creating an environment that is cozier and warmer and more relaxing and balanced and uplifting and positive, you really create a memorable experience for your patient, and your patient remembers that. And they will reward you by being loyal and by coming back and by sharing that experience with their friends and family and on social media.
Oh, yeah.
And it's amazing. And so it's just a win-win. I mean, it's just love. It's just, it doesn't take much. That's the thing. Sometimes practitioners and physicians think that they have to do this huge remodel and tear down walls and get dust everywhere and dig deep into their pocketbooks. But it actually, you don't have to. And so that's what I want to share today with your listeners is that you don't have to dig deep, and it just takes some creativity. And I hope that these offerings I can give you today will help you.
Great. Let's get into that.
Okay. Well, let me just get over there. So I'm just going to share my screen with y'all.
Look at you.
Rebecca, can you see that?
I can.
Wonderful. Yeah. Do you see tip number 1?
I do.
Okay. So what I did is I put together 6 tips for you today, and I'm going to go through them one by one and just explain them. They're very easy, and my hope is that they plant a seed in you, and maybe even more than that. Maybe you'll start making some changes right away. So tip number 1 is about lighting. Lighting is a big deal because it's so easy to change, and it can really help the environment feel better, and it can really help people. So one of the things is, the first tip, do not rely on overhead lighting alone. That goes for your waiting room. That goes for any room, really. So let me tell you a little bit about overhead lighting. Overhead lighting alone creates kind of a flatness in the environment. So everything looks pretty flat, and it creates more of that, institutional feeling that we're used to from hospitals and doctors' offices. And the science behind just having overhead lighting that is sort of illuminated everywhere, one single light, is that it resembles feeling like you're under a cloudy day. And it contributes to depression and sadness. And let me repeat that. Your singular overhead lighting that lights up the whole room with one light kind of balanced everywhere contributes to depression. And it's perceived by people, by humans, as being being outside under the clouds. So there's a melancholy energy that goes with that. So my first tip to you is to layer your lighting. This is an example of a staff lounge at Mount Tabor Veterinary Care in Portland, Oregon. And you can see how there's lots of different lighting happening. So there's the overhead lighting that you can see here at the top. And you can see that there's a skylight that lets in natural lighting, which is a very big healing component. And then we have here pendant lighting and decorative lighting, which is a chandelier, and my client loves chandeliers. And what we have now is layered lighting, and that helps really create shadows and depth and coziness. And I'm not saying you have to get as fancy as this. I'm just asking you to maybe try bringing in a table lamp for a table that's next to a chair in your waiting room, for example. And it lights up the wall really nicely, and it creates people feel the most comfortable in rooms that have layered lighting, kind of like when we're at home or when we're out in a fancy restaurant or shopping at a boutique store, right?
Right.
So that's my first tip.
Okay.
Yeah. My tip number 2, I love this tip. And so do my clients. Always choose lighting you love. There is this perception in the world of medicine that is now changing that you have to get sterile, boring, plain
That's pretty.
lighting. And actually, that's really changed because lighting is now affordable. There's so many choices. There's so many more choices than there were 20 years ago. And so my client here in her office, she said, I love chandeliers. And I said, bring it. So she has a chandelier, she has a table lamp, and you can see how the mirror is placed so that it reflects the light. And that the table lamp is really beautiful because it shines light on the walls. So it creates this kind of depth feeling. And it's super easy. So I have a Pinterest page or Pinterest board that's dedicated to just lighting. So if you're like, I don't know, I don't have any idea, go over there and get inspired and see and go with what you love, because what you love is going to make you happy. My client here in this office, she loves coming to work. Her staff loves coming in, having conversations, even hard conversations, because the room sets a tone, and you can see how the lighting makes a big difference. I love this one too. So tip number 3, ditch your cool white fluorescent tube or compact fluorescent lighting. Okay, Rebecca, I know you're with me on this. Okay, when you think about growing up and going to all out with your mom or dad or your caretaker, what kind of lights did they have in the grocery stores? What kind of lights did they have, at the pediatrician's office? What kind of lights did they have in any public building, at the DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles? It was always overhead fluorescent lighting, right?
Yeah.
It was almost like there was some standard. There must have been. It was just what they put in those environments. And I remember feeling really uncomfortable and not being grateful for the glare that resulted as a child, and I always wanted to leave. So here's the deal with overhead fluorescent lighting. It's bad for you. Now, especially the cool white kind. So the cool spectrum fluorescent tube lighting that you see here, and also just any cool spectrum fluorescent lighting in general causes quite a lot of health problems. And it's been known to cause melanoma. It has been known to cause headaches and lots of other health problems. So much so that Germany, I don't know if you knew this, but the country of Germany has banned them from all healthcare buildings. That's kind of a big deal. So that goes to show you that, Germans just said no, because it's really not good for us on so many levels.
It's very annoying, Cheryl, whenever one of those bulbs goes out or is going out, and that whole flickering thing that's going on. And I'll tell you from my past experience having astigmatism, that actually aggravates some eyesight, when the flickering is going on, and it's happening so fast that we don't even see it sometimes.
Right. It can raise our blood pressure. It can contribute to heightened anxiety, especially for sensitive folks. Children are very sensitive to this kind of thing. So what to do instead? So if you've got fluorescent lights right now, You can either keep them off, that's an easy fix, turn them off and bring in some floor lighting and some table lighting. And of course, if you're a dentist and, this is not including your task lighting for, surgeries and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about overhead lighting, overhead fluorescent lighting. You can turn them off. You can replace them with light fixtures if you want to get creative. It's really actually quite affordable to do either one of those. But the most affordable thing is just to keep the lights off. And a lot of my clients do that as a first step. I love this tip. This is something that is so important. Humanize your environment. Humanize your environment. So I really love this and actually my clients love this too, because it allows for our personalities to come out. The doctor's personalities, owners of the practice, and you can get the staff involved too, and it's really fun. So here's a great example. My dentist client shares his love for the Japanese art of bonsai trees in his patient waiting room. Now, I don't know if you know anything about bonsai trees, but they're kind of high maintenance, and he has a lot of them at home. And so he does this he rotates them out, and patients love them. They're a huge conversation piece. They humanize the doctor-patient relationship. Instead of just saying, hello, what's going on with you? Tell me what your symptoms are. It's like, hey. And then the patient says, oh my God, I love your Japanese art of bonsai trees. I love those. Tell me more about it. And so it creates this relationship. It builds trust. I mean, it's kind of like a no-brainer, but we haven't thought about it. And let me tell you, this is a wonderful idea. This is easy for you to do. So, I recommend that you just ask yourself, what are my hobbies? And write down what your hobbies are. So maybe you are a bird watcher, or maybe you're a safari junkie or an elephant lover, and somehow bring those into your practice. Your patients will, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I love that idea.
Isn't that great? And the sort of follow-up to that is to bring in handmade elements. You can see these two vases and bowl are handmade, and they just bring a human quality to the space. They feel good in the body. They make you feel like there's a home environment. And it's really good to bring some home element into your practice, because we all associate home as being somewhere safe. And so, so many people resist going to the hospital and going to the doctor because they don't want to go into that environment. It's really difficult, but imagine how much easier it is if you're in pain or suffering somehow and you walk into a space that has some human quality to it, some organic quality. So that's my tip number 4.
You know what, Cheryl? I can just imagine that if you put something in the waiting room or something that you're very passionate about, and patients are bringing that up every time they come in or noticing it, then how rewarding is that to talk about what you're passionate about all day long with your patients? It just makes being in your work environment so much more freeing and conversational around the things that your true passions are.
Exactly right. And let me tell you, after this, I just wanted to share that after they, were finished with their remodel, because they did a remodel here, and this is a young dentist, who took over a practice that was, 20, 30 years old. And after they did the remodel, I think within just a few months, they had 100 new patients.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's impressive.
Mm-hmm. They really embraced this. And I just give them so much credit, because they embraced it. And now they're a very flourishing, sustainable practice. And everybody loves it. Okay, tip number 5. This is a good one, because I see this a lot. Soften the space with draperies. Here's an example. This is my client who is a naturopathic physician. And when I first came in here, on the windows, she had metal horizontal blinds. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the standard when you lease a
Is.
space, right?
Mm-hmm.
They come with these metal horizontal blinds that are just awful. They're metal. They contribute to kind of a hard feeling in the space. And I always ask my clients if they will remove those. That's one of the first things I recommend. And replace them with some type of other window treatment. In this case, it was fully acceptable to replace them with a double drapery rod and replace them with soft draperies. As you can see, there's a white linen sheer on the inside, and probably, I think it was a silk on the outside. And what it does is it just, as you can see, it just helps create a calm and safe feeling, kind
It's
of like you're at home, right?
like a stuffy office.
Right. Right. So within 2 weeks, my client reported her patients felt better talking about sensitive issues in this room. And also within a couple of months, she reported back to me that there was there was more compliance in recommended treatment plans. So
Interesting.
it was really fascinating. And she felt calmer at work because she always felt overwhelmed with all of her work. So again, just replace those metal blinds.
And that's not too costly. I mean, that's something you can do in a weekend.
Right. It's very easy to do. And you can always ask me questions. You know, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. But yes, there's so many places you can get affordable draperies and drapery rods. And look at it, it's just beautiful. Tip number 6. I love this one. Balance your warm and your cool colors. So this is kind of a general rule, but I think it's important for physicians to know this, or any decorators they work with who are friends and family. Sometimes we get our spouses to help with decorating spaces. At least that's what I hear. Sometimes I work with, the spouse of a physician, and because they've got great talent, they're a natural stylist or decorator. And here's the thing. There's sort of this misconception about color that if you want a warm and cozy space, it's preferable to bring in all warm colors, a warm colored wall, warm colored furniture, warm colored rugs, warm colored this, warm colored that. And it actually creates the opposite effect. It feels heavy, it feels bland, it's just like you can't really even see anything. It just kind of blends together and it just feels terrible in the body. So what you can do is just follow this one simple rule. If you choose a cool colored wall, choose warm colored furniture. And vice versa. If you choose a warm colored wall, choose cool colored furniture. So in this case, this is a Chinese medicinal herbal pharmacy and an acupuncture clinic. And this was a complete remodel. And we wanted to get some repurposed materials. And so look at how beautiful the furniture is and very warm. And so I chose the color on the wall for them because it really brings out the warm color. It's very complementary. And it feels great in there. When you do this, you instantly begin to create this feeling of, I just want to linger in here. I just want to hang out in here. You know those spaces I'm talking about that you walk in and you just feel great in there and you don't really know why. You can't pinpoint it and say, it's this thing, it's this particular design element. And that's what I create in healthcare practices is this thing that you can't really put your finger on, but it just feels so great and it complements the work that's such important work that the doctor and the nurses and everybody does there.
Awesome tips, Cheryl.
Thank you.
And easy, easy. These are things that, people can take today and implement into their workspace, into their environment, and make a change that could be lasting, you know, and could bring more patients to the practice. It could enhance the whole environment for everyone.
Right. It's just wonderful. And I have one last thing to share in the photo. So I wanted to share a before and after real quick because they're kind of fun to see, and I didn't share any. And so this was a dental practice, a female-owned dental practice, the before photo, and patients complained a lot, which is why I was called in, about feeling anxious. There are really tall ceilings in here, you know, 15, 20 feet high, and people were complaining. Patients were really not feeling well. There's a big operatory space in the back. So after we were done, this is what it looked like.
Wow.
So again, before and after. And patients love it. I love it too, because it feels so calming. It feels uplifting. It feels welcoming. And anyway, that's kind of, you get the idea of the transformation that you can do.
Yes. Beautiful.
Hi. Oh, there you are.
Hey. Cheryl, I'm so excited about this. I think what you're doing is fascinating and
Thank you,
exciting.
Rebecca.
Makes me want to do that too.
Well, thank you.
Change my career right now today. So what kind of practitioners do you work with specifically?
I work with visionary healthcare practitioners. So what I mean by that are practitioners who really believe in a whole health approach to well-being. They are excited to recommend complementary alternative medicine, and they are just open to changing their environments and supporting their patients in the best way they know how. So specifically, I work with acupuncturists, internists, pediatricians, naturopathic physicians, all kinds of body workers, Rolfing and orthopedic manual therapists, and gosh, physical therapists. I've worked with yoga studios, obviously, you know, some medicinal pharmacies, as I showed you, anything where there's healing going on. And they're all independent, most independent practitioners. I do not work with hospitals, even though I love what they're doing and I follow everything that they're doing. I work with independent practitioners who have private practices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we found each other.
Yeah, I know. I'm so happy that we met and feel great. And I'm so excited to be here today to share this information and play with you about this. And Rebecca, I made something for your listeners today. I put together a free gift.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so I just want to, you know, put together more tips for you. And it's called your 5-minute design kit for your healthcare practice. And all you have to do is go to this short link, which I'll tell you right now, and get it. That's it. So here's the link. It is bit.ly/more for your practice. And more for your practice is there's no spaces and it's all lowercase. So again, I'll repeat that. That's bit.ly/more for your practice. No spaces. And you'll have it. I just want to say thank you for listening and thank you for having me, Rebecca.
Oh, thank you for being a guest today. Tell me real quick, what's it like out there in California today?
It's going to be 86 degrees today, and we're here in the North Bay area of San Francisco in a town called Sebastopol. I think it's a little on the unusually warm side, but we are loving it. How's the weather there?
Very nice. This week it's been a little bit drier, which, you know, here in Florida we have that humidity going on, but
Right.
We had a little bit of a cool spell, and we're thankful to have it because we know summer's coming and it's going to be really, really warm.
Yeah, I want to visit one day. What's the best time of year to visit?
Probably this time of year, anywhere between February and May is a fabulous time to come visit.
Okay, noted. All right.
Well, thank you so much, Cheryl. And again,
You're welcome.
Cheryl's website is CherylJanisDesigns.com. And so you can check out her portfolios there, some of her work there, and you can reach out to her too. So thank you again, Cheryl, for being our guest today.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rebecca. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.